Hey, man. Sorry, I have the hiccups. Hey, guys. What's up, what's up? I have the hiccups, which I guess is normal for me, but it doesn't mean I want them to stay. It's a very bright and shiny planet. Morning, Priscilla. Morning, Avery. How's everyone doing this fine Monday? I need to, oh God, Amanda. Who, why, how did that happen to you? How did you get involved? No, last one of my favorite one, no. Hey, Grace. Well, the good news is today we're reading a non-fiction book, so even though you missed some, if you didn't get to catch up on the YouTubes, it doesn't really matter because each chapter is a little different, you know? Morning. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Making coffee as usual. How are you all? Does everyone have their coffee? Some comments in the Slack are filtered. I bet it's Amanda talking about TRUMP. I bet it is. I got filtered for saying that S word, another four-letter one. That's funny. What's the best part about nonfiction? Wait, maybe that's why I made it. Yeah, maybe, Grace. That could very well be. It could very well be. Yeah, I'm excited. I like this book a lot. It's nice. Morning, Jack. How's your team doing living in the dumpster with my team in the dumpster? My hair looks real special right now, you guys. It's choice. It's giving she didn't care. It's giving she rolled out of bed. How do I find your YouTube? It's just Rainbow Slime Girl. Yeah, you can. It's also linked in my bio, but it's just Rainbow Slime Girl, and it has all the previous episodes of book clubs for anyone who misses each one. I upload them every day. Well, when I'm not, I actually had to do 2 yesterday because I fought all weekend with that. I can't even talk about my fantasy team or real team. It was a rough Sunday. Yeah, my fantasy team did about as bad as a team can do. For them to do worse, they all would have had to not play. I personally, alone on the field with no help, could have gotten more points than they got. Yeah, and I'm not a football player, but I'm here to tell you, they did bad, not good. My team did bad, not good. I think that Zoe and I could have gotten more points. Yeah, Avery, they did. They did. Hey, guys. Yeah, it was bad. I think if you put me, my sister, Zoe, and Ethan, who is 1.5, by the way, on the football field, we could together, the 4 of us, have received double the points that my fantasy team got this week. Because it's almost like they didn't play. Oh, shnikes. Just for context, for anyone who isn't in our fantasy league, my team got 36 points this week. 36 points. The team I was playing against, which is Liz, who I'm sure will be here momentarily, got 128 points. So that is an almost 100 point gap. 36 to 128, Amanda. Not just 36. If it had been like in my other league, the one that I'm not playing against you all, the one that I'm playing with Secret Husbands Friends, I got like 50 something and the other person got 60 something, so that was pretty close. 36 to 128. Exactly. You don't even have to know football to know that that is bad. It's bad. Yes. You're not supposed to get... Here she comes. Here comes Liz, who beat the pants off my team this week. Yes, 30 points in one game is pretty normal. I think they were asleep on the field. Do you have anyone? I do. Yeah, I do have one person. I way overfilled Secret Husband's cup just now, and I spilled. I have one person playing tonight, so... Or actually, I have two people playing tonight, which leads me to believe I may round out a nice 40 points. I might end up with 40 points this week, you know? Who's to say? I could have a whopping 40 points to Liz's 175 by the end of tonight. So, yeah, I am not counting on a miracle. I have 3 people ready to play. Wow, we might end up with 42 points. What a joy. I promise you with every fiber of my being that if I took my 1-year-old nephew on the field, we could get more than 30 points. It's an embarrassment. They should be embarrassed as professional football players. They should be embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for them. Their only job is to play football, and they get paid a lot of money for it. Me too, Amanda. Me too. Like, we're not talking about high schoolers who are also trying to duke school at the same time. They have one job. They have one job. And their one job is to sometimes catch the ball, depending on who you are, sometimes run the ball, sometimes throw the ball. Depends on what their position is, but they have one job. There are a couple of guys who have 2 jobs, like catch the ball and think about the ball, or throw the ball and help decide a play. You know, good morning, Sophie. And Sophie, I haven't forgotten your thing. We are in football morning. The Marie Cup is from Shira. Actually, it was a gift last year. I'm just saying, if you only have one job, and that job, generally speaking, is just catch a football, and you don't do it even once in a game, you're fired. You're fired, and I don't want you on my team anymore. Their job is to get the ball to the end zone and keep... Exactly. And they're not doing it. They're not doing it. So I will tell you, my team is being sent to live with Jack's team in the dumpster, and I'm not letting them out anytime soon. Yeah, they need better costumes, that's for sure, because they're not entertaining enough to, I'm talking about my fantasy team. My fantasy team is bad, bad, not good. Yeah. They're bad, bad, not good, and they deserve to be punished. I hope that my fantasy team feels bad about themselves. I don't say that about a lot of people, but they deserve to feel bad. They deserve to feel bad. Yeah. Amanda's team, on the other hand, or I mean, not Amanda's team, Liz's team, on the other hand, should feel great. They should feel great about themselves. I'm also actually trying, Sophie, I keep switching my players around when I need to. I'm like working the waiver wire, doing all the things. It's not helping. My players keep getting injured, so I keep having to switch them out. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I'm mad at them. I think, yeah. Except they lose to Sophie with 2 people out with 0 points. Yes, that was weird. That was weird. One that drinks enough milk. Yeah, well, you know. So anyway, let's read about the Disney Channel instead, which is so much less of a dumpster fire. It's almost impossible to comprehend. All right, now my hair looks less tragic. Do you see why people need bangs? This is why I need bangs. Did you see how it completely transformed my face in like literally 15 seconds? I went from looking like a trash human who doesn't care about anything to someone who like maybe just has curly hair, you don't know, right? Like it looks like maybe I tried. I don't know. Oh my God, there's a cat in my building. I'm slowly getting with my friend. Yay, I love that. Your cauldrons of ping pong around Washington. What is happening this week with mail, you guys? Roxy's package has gone to 6 different states. Jen's doesn't know what city it lives in. What is happening? Someone needs to have a chit chat with USPS and tell them just look at the address on the package and send it to that place. It's not rocket science. It goes from my place to their place. Mine were supposed to be delivered today and they're still in LA. What is happening? Seattle, Spokane, and then sitting in Portland for days. Like, why? Why? Like, it makes no sense to me. What are they all doing right now? Is something going on? Maybe the postal workers are stepping in for our employees. That's the only excuse. Do we think that it is November 5th related? This happened last time. Do you guys remember? I don't know if you guys remember. I was working at Slumu for the last, you know what, the last time that people had to VOTE on something. I was working at Slumu and we also had a postal issue leading up to the, you know what. My dad quit the USPS, must have crumbled without him. You should tell him that we're angry with him, Grace. I wonder if it's related. Yeah, it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but like, it's kind of weird. I mean, Jen, Liz, have your packages from me ever not just gone straight to you before? Well, I wasn't even thinking about that, Grace. I was thinking about them trying to fight for like, yeah, exactly, a slowdown action. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking more of that. Not even the influx of ballots. I was thinking them trying to do something hinky-dinky, you know? I've had one issue, but normally it's really quick. Yeah, I remember there was a big mailing issue. That's what I'm talking about, Avery, yeah. Okay, well, anyway, we'll keep an eye on them all, of course, but it's not great. It's not great. I'm gonna tell you that. Just so you all know, I did post on Patreon this morning about this weekend's class. We are gonna make avalanche potions for Halloween in class on Saturday. We're gonna do it earlier on Saturday so that everyone can go trick-or-treating afterwards. A lot of USPS are still in Teen Cruise, so that was, oh, interesting, Grace, I didn't know that. I didn't know, is it because of, why are they on Skeleton Cruise? Did something happen? I don't want to believe that because we didn't get the result we wanted in 2020. We did get the result we wanted in 2020. Yeah, we did. We sure freaking did. What are you talking about? We absolutely got the result we wanted in 2020. I won't be there Saturday. We have late minutes. Oh, that's exciting. Wait, trick-or-treating on Saturday, Halloween's on Thursday. Yes, Halloween is on Thursday, Natalie. However, a lot of people with young children take their kids trick-or-treating on whatever is the Saturday before Halloween, if Halloween falls in the middle of a year, because they have littles. So people who have little kids might be taking them out on Saturday to some events and stuff like that because it's a weekend. And some people don't like to take their kids out on weekdays. Yeah, trunk or treats at schools. So that's That's why I want to be respectful of Saturday night times, because Halloween, yeah, it's a tricky thing. And different people do it different days. Yeah, a lot of people do that. Yeah, no, of course, no problem. So we're having our class at 2 p.m. on Saturday so that people can still go out if they want. Of course, the class will be recorded for anyone who misses it. Not a big deal. But we'll be making potions out of slime, which is fun. And the cool thing about it is, because they are being made on Saturday, they should like get more potion-y over the course of Halloween week, which is a really cool exercise with your kids. Not everyone wants to do this, not even everyone is very good at this, but it's a very cool lesson in patience for little ones. I've done this with my classes before when I've taught Avalanche to like schools before. To get them to wait until it fully avalanches is like really cool, and they get to check in on it every day. It's like a fun activity. So that's kind of my thought with this. I don't know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but we're gonna do it and it's gonna be fun. Bring your kids, let's have a good time. But let's read first because we're book club now. Okay. Chapter 3 is called Even Stevens, Talent and Turmoil. I'm Shia LaBeouf, and I'm going to win an Academy Award one day. That's how a 10-year-old Shia walked into the Hey Arnold voice casting session, introduced himself to the room. Oh, okay. Well, that is what we call confidence. A confidence 10-year-old Sasha did not possess, I'll tell you that much. It was a semi-ridiculous statement from a 10-year-old and an extremely ridiculous statement from a 10-year-old who proceeded to completely bomb that Nickelodeon audition. I was going to say I didn't know he was in Hey Arnold, but I guess he wasn't. But Shia's hyperbolic introduction made weary casting director Joey Paul Jensen snap to attention. Who was this brazen kid whose bravado far outpaced his craft? He had no discipline, she recalled. He was all over the place and had no understanding of recording at all. And yet, there was something refreshingly weird in the spark about this unpolished acting hopeful. Shia lost out on the Arnold gig without a second glance, but eager to learn, he signed up for acting classes with Jensen and then joined her stand-up comedy troupe, which she launched to give kids the chance to perform original material at venues around Los Angeles. When Jensen was beginning her casting career in the early 90s, she had observed how networks like NBC and ABC were finding massive success with sitcoms centered around the skills of singular stand-up comics. Roseanne Barr on Roseanne, Jerry Seinfeld on Seinfeld, Tim Allen on Home Improvement. Why couldn't that model work for children's programming? That was the biggest thing, Jensen said. How to convince the executives that we could trust these 12-year-olds to carry a show. Not sure you can, but that's another story for another day. When Disney Channel started working on a new single-camera sitcom called Spivey Kid Brother in 1999, they brought Jensen aboard to oversee casting. After a nationwide search testing more than 2,000 boys for the lead role of Louis Spivey, a hapless kid who dreamed of becoming a stand-up comedian, Jensen narrowed down her selection and brought in a 12-year-old Shia LaBeouf to the network as her first pick. By that point, he'd booked a few minor TV roles and she felt like he was ready for the rigors of a leading role. While greatly improved from his Hey Arnold session, he was still a loose cannon. In the Spivey audition waiting room, he used blusterous opening lines to scare off the competition like, "Hi, I'm Shia and I'm playing Louis," and he cheerfully introduced himself to the other contenders. Inside the Disney casting room, however, he now had enough skill to back up his magnetic antics. Unlike some of the other polished kid actors, Shia retained an unpredictable authenticity. He was a walking ball of energy who deliberately flared his nostrils, scratched his face, and picked his nose while delivering his lines with perfect comedic timing. Seriously, I've never seen a kid like that ever in my life, Disney Channel executive Stacy Pianco said. It felt like he was this old comedian coming through this young boy's body. He was so intense, but really funny at the same time. I was like, oh God, we have to cast this kid in something. Not everyone was convinced. As audition after audition went by, Shia advanced up the ranks, reading for the showrunners, mid-level network executives, and eventually executive vice president
Gary Marsh. Marsh was adamant that Shia was too young, but Pianko stressed that by the time the production began on the actual series, he'd be 13, which was the perfect age. Marsh hesitantly did give in, and Shia got the part. In filming on the pilot by then the pilot was called Wren's Brother, and it started. When I first saw Shia, was sitting there reading Variety like he was some 60-year-old vaudevillian, recalled Tom Virtue, who played the show's patriarch. He turned to me and he said, "If this thing isn't a hit, we suck." That's a funny thing to hear from a 13-year-old. Okay, I'm sorry. I've been on a lot of casting things before. This kind of stuff doesn't happen. The part of the book got the ad for, oh really? That's funny. But Shia's job security was anything but certain. After filming the pilot, test audiences did not respond well to Shia in particular. They felt his character came across a lot more of a depressed loner than the comical boy next door. The orders came from above that Jensen needed to recast Shia and start from scratch on a new nationwide search for his replacement. Skeptical, she agreed to look at an additional 600 boys for the role of Lewis. None, she felt, matched Shia's charisma and talent. "After all is said and done, I still think Shia is the best," she reported back to the network executives. They weren't going to make it easy. If Shia wanted a shot at keeping the part, he needed to re-audition and do a new screen test in front of the executives, just like the other new finalists. It was practically an unheard of move and humiliating as an ask for a kid who had already won the role and filmed the pilot. Jensen delicately explained the situation to Shia and his agent, convincing them to comply with Disney's demands. As Jensen trudged down the hallway to the 21st floor of the Disney Channel headquarters with Shia in tow to read for the executives once again, she glanced back only to find her younger charge had disappeared. Confused, she doubled back and spotted him crouching between two filing cabinets, racked by heavy sobs. "What do I have to do to prove myself to them?" he asked between gaps. "I can't do it again. I can't. Jensen bent down to his level and looked him in the eye. "I felt like Cher in Moonstruck when she yells at Nicolas Cage to just snap out of it," Jensen recalls. "I was shaking him like, 'Shia, we can't have this drama right now. You've got to be funny. This is your part.'" The pep talk worked, though. Shia booked the part again, and the production began in earnest on Disney Channel's first original comedy series, retitled then Even Stevens. Even Stevens had its original Bourbon Street bar. Creator Matt Dearborn happened to first meet Disney Channel narrative series executive Lee Gaither at a New Orleans watering hole late one evening while attending the National Association of Television Programming Executives conference. Well, that's a mouthful. They struck up a conversation and Gaither urged Dearborn to send over a script. Dearborn, who had established his career working on The Secret World of Alex Mack and Beverly Hills 90210, subsequently submitted Spivey Kid Brother to pilot Disney Channel on spec for $10,000. I don't know how many of you watched Even Stevens. I did. Somehow $10,000 doesn't feel like quite enough. But maybe I'm crazy. The show's original title was a nod to the poison ivy-stricken character in Alex Sherman's 1963 novel about a kid at camp. Hello, Mata. Hello, Fada. He set the series in his hometown of Sacramento and focused on the title family's hapless youngest child, Lewis, Shia LaBeouf, surrounded by his family of overachievers, a senator mom, a lawyer dad, an athletic older brother, and a brainiac sister, Christy Carlson Romano. After the Shia casting debacle, Dearborn was still wrapped up in his work at 90210 when series production got underway on what now was Even Stevens. It was off to a tedious start. They'd shot the first 6 episodes, but as each new script reached Dearborn, who was serving as an off-site creative consultant, the problems jumped off the page. His original pilot had leaned into the emotion and family comedy, but the new material was swinging into over-the-top slapstick. People were starting to panic. It was too broad. It wasn't even story-driven anymore. It wasn't even emotionally driven, he said. You just have to, be kind of smart to write dumb humor, and it just missed the mark. The network's new original series head, Adam Bonnet, put in a frantic call to Mark Warren and Dennis Rinsler, a pair of former New York City public school teachers who had served as writers and eventual showrunners on ABC's mega hit Full House. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that, but that does show like how you can really pivot from having one job to another by taking your skill set and reworking it. They were New York City public school teachers and they were like, nah, I know kids, I got this. It's funny. They'd recently wrapped production on the WB's Parenthood and agreed to a meeting. The pay at Disney Channel would be less than a third of what they had been making as showrunners on a network show, but family sitcom work was growing scarce, and the chance to oversee a single camera show was intriguing. While the pilot Bonnet sent them wasn't very good, they thought that the kid actors were great. Disney gave us carte blanche, Warren said. They said, hire whoever you want, fire whoever you want. We'll give you a brand new staff. We'll give you 8 weeks to read through the script. They couldn't have been more open to us creatively, coming in and taking over the show. So the pair did clean house. Dearborn was the only one from the original team who was asked to stay on as writer and producer, and Warren and Rinsler countered the show's zany sound effects and food gags with a more grounded, a familial heart. They made the Stevens family half Jewish in a nod to Shia's own family history, and were the first Disney Channel original series to ever have a Hanukkah episode. Interesting. Alongside the screwball scenarios of Lewis's wacky inventions and Wren moonlighting as a lounge singer, there were dramatic storylines like season 3's opening kiss between Lewis and his friend Tawny, a development that was written primarily to let Shia kiss actor Margot Harshman, whom he harbored a real-life crush on and later dated. While many network TV shows were shot at Disney's Burbank studios, no Disney Channel show had merit. The cost of renting a soundstage no Disney Channel show had merited the cost of renting a soundstage on the home lot. This is completely unrelated, but anytime I hear about the Disney Burbank studios, I feel the need to bring up my mother. My mother was born across the street from the Disney Burbank studios because there was a hospital there at the time. And now there is a cemetery nearby as well, and she is determined to be buried there as well because she was born across the street from Disney, and she is determined to spend her final resting place across the street from Disney. So in case you're wondering how I turned out the way that I did, that should give you a couple of clues about what our family's like. Full circle, yes. I know, it's kind of cute actually. She'll end up where she started. It's kind of adorable actually. That's one of her more endearing weirdnesses. We couldn't afford it, the network's then general manager Rich Ross said. In fact, previous Disney Channel series had been mostly shot in Canada to avoid LA's production costs altogether. Even Stevens became one of the first projects to stay closer to home, but still shot on the far west side of town in, wait for it, Playa Vista. Guys, I live in Playa Vista. A former chainsaw factory that had been converted into a studio for Baywatch in the early 90s. We are in Playa Vista as we speak. I am sitting in it. This is it. Welcome to Playa Vista. It's out there, right there. I did not know that this used to have studios here, but I'm in it currently. Maybe there's 2. That seems weird. I mean, maybe not. We're both in LA. It'd be weird for there to be 2 Playa Vistas in one LA. I'm gonna have to do some research after this. Anyway, it was near executive producer Sean McNamara and David Brookwell's offices and essentially out of sight, out of mind from the Disney Channel overlords in Burbank. Oh, that's true. We are a little ways away we're about 20, 30 minutes from Burbank, and we are on the west side, so yeah, we are the far west side of town. We're almost all the way to the water, so I guess that's true. They were here. Wow, okay. We might as well have been shooting in Turkmenistan, Dearborn said. Okay, I don't know about that. It's a little nicer than that. The most cast saw of the network executives like Marsh and Bonnet was when the kids showed up unannounced at Disney's Burbank headquarters and made themselves at home. Shia and I would go to the 21st floor at the Disney Channel building and just pop into Gary's office or pop into Adam's office and hang out and chat, said AJ Trouth, who played Lewis's friend Twitty. They didn't even lock their doors. Sometimes they would just have a meeting going on and we would just walk on in. So hands-off were the Disney Channel executives during the Even Stevens run that no one even batted an eye at the show's decision to name the school teacher, gym teacher, and coach Tugnut, and christen another supporting character, Tom Grabowski, which could be pronounced Grab-Balski. We were just making ourselves laugh, Rinsler said. If it made us laugh, we put it in. It was fun to trick them. We would say, it's totally innocent. If it sounds dirty, it's in your mind. In the middle of the second season, they introduced a new character, Beans Argyren, the middling, bacon-loving kid next door, played by Stephen Anthony Lawrence. The character's last name was a playful nod to Steve Argyren. I don't know how to pronounce this. Argyren? A mid-level network executive tasked with running notes between the suites in Burbank and the other creatives on set. He had won the creatives' hearts early on with his minimal feedback. We couldn't believe the first table read. He came back from Burbank with his briefcase, and there he sat afterwards, and he said, "It's going to be a good show." And we were like, "What? That's all the notes?" Warren said. "They just trusted us. For creatives, that was heaven." That trust extended to the network's green-lighting the experimental episode that would cement Even Stevens' place in Disney Channel history, Influenza the Musical. It's true, none of us will ever forget this. As part of the initiative to integrate popular music on the channel, Disney Channel had established a pattern of inserting pop star cameos and performances into their show. Britney Spears and Destiny Child on The Famous Jet Jackson, the Moffats on So Weird, and in season 2 premiere of Even Stevens, the Hollywood Records boy band BB Mac. There was no precedent for an outright Disney Channel original musical in any form. Greater Disney wisdom held that younger audiences loved watching animated musicals, or maybe even the Muppets musicals, but a live-action original musical with kids belting out a plot-advancing show tune? No dice. Walt Disney Pictures' most recent prominent attempt had been Newsies a decade earlier, and it had been a disastrous flop in theaters, bringing in under $3 million at the box office against its $15 million budget. No one was eager to suffer a repeat failure on TV. Now, this is really interesting because the resurgence of Newsies as millennials got old enough to bring it back around has been wild, because they made their money back with the Broadway show in spades, but they thought it was going to be a flop. That's real. I don't know if any of you all know the history of like Newsies getting to Broadway. We can talk about it another time. But Disney fought against Newsies going to Broadway tooth and nail, and eventually it was a hit, you know, so it's interesting. Still, Even Stevens had a musical element percolating behind the scenes. Christy Carlson Romano had a Broadway background. Lauren Frost, who played Ren's friend Ruby, had toured with Barbra Streisand. And Ty Hodges, who played Ren's nemesis Larry Beale, was a professional dancer. And on the Even Stevens set, Shia, Margot, and AJ had formed an amateur band that jammed in the studio's conference room during lunch breaks. The show clearly had talent to put together a full musical if they could convince the network executives. In the beginning, there's a quote, "In the beginning, they were saying, 'Nobody likes that, nobody does that,'" Rinsler said. And we said, "Don't worry, it's going to be funny, and we're going to make it smart." They also needed to come up with a stellar reason for why these characters were suddenly singing and dancing in the halls of their junior high. They landed on a fever dream. Ren wakes up sick with the flu but doesn't want to ruin her perfect attendance record, so she soldiers on and arrives at school where everyone is inexplicably singing their thoughts and feelings in Broadway-worthy show tune numbers throughout the day. At the end of the episode, it's revealed that it was all a dream and Ren was actually at home in bed to recover. The pitch worked, and they were granted a slightly larger budget for the episode and extra time to record the tracks and rehearse. Warren penned the script, McNamara directed, and Jim Wise, who played Coach Tugnut, had also been a member of the live comedy troupe The Groundlings alongside Jennifer Coolidge and Will Ferrell, so he sketched out the lyrics and the sound for 6 musical tracks. "I tried to make every song sound like a little bit of a different style," Wise explained. "The principal sings the morning announcements like a swinging Motown bop. Masters of the Gym utilizes the Devil's Interval and becomes menacingly pirate anthem as Lewis and Twitty endure torture PE. What's the Matter with Ren adopts a Sound of Music vibe, and for what became the episode's Piece de Resistance, Wise took to the Beatles' Penny Lane to inspire We Went to the Moon, a catchy ditty that Ren makes up when she forgets to prepare her report on the space program and can only remember the fact that the astronauts went to the moon in 1969. I will never forget these episodes. They are very funny. I mean, this is a very funny episode. I still remember the song We Went to the Moon in 1969. Like, they did a good job. They're catchy tunes, I have to say. Very catchy, very lovely. When the season 2 episode aired on January 25th, 2002, it amounted to 23 minutes of what is essentially perfect television. Christy got the chance to shine in front and center. The ensemble actors flexed their musical prowess, and those who weren't songly gifted still gave it their all. Wise even added a special nod to Donna Pesco's career-making role in Saturday Night Fever by giving the Stevens parents a disco interlude. Yeah, they put a lot into it. Every moment of influenza was utilized to create a campy mini masterpiece of full of lingering earworms. It's true, they are earworms because we all still know the tune. We went to the moon, you know, the whole thing is still there in your head, and Christy Carlton Romano would do a better job than I would, but you know, we all know the songs. A testament to its longevity, in 2018, Cardi B posted an Instagram video, "Who remembers this song?" before belting We Went to the Moon from memory. Case in point. Throughout Even Stevens' production, the relationship between Christy and Shia could be best described as fraught. They harbor the same sibling-like antagonism for one another that their characters did, and the writers used that to fuel their storylines. In real life, they drove each other crazy, Rensler said, and when we heard that, we said, oh, this will be fun. Christy had been acting professionally since she was 6 years old, commuting from her family's home in Midford, Connecticut to New York City for auditions and eventually a Broadway stint in Parade. Ooh, I don't know if you guys know about Parade, but Parade is deep. We're talking like meaty, not comedy. Nothing funny is going on there. She'd performed in the national tours of Annie and The Sound of Music, and she had played the singing Chiquita Banana in the 1996 Woody Allen film Everyone Says I Love You before she and her mom headed to LA. For her Even Stevens audition, 14-year-old Christy wore a crisp blazer and made impeccable eye contact and owned the room with charisma and humor as she nailed every line. I really wish that they would stop that beeping sound. It would be a personal favor to me if you could just stop. I'm trying to read. Don't they see that I'm reading here? No more beeping. No more beeping. Insane. Anyway, in the thousands of casting sessions I've sat to, this is a quote, to this day, hers is still the best audition I have ever seen, Dearborn said. Echoed casting director Joey Paul Jensen, nothing was out of place, not her hair, not a button, nothing. She was the total opposite of Shia, and they both walked in the room and commanded the room. They have that ability in common, but it would be like if Robin Williams and Anne Hathaway both came through the door one after another. In fact, Christy said she missed her audition for the lead in The Princess Diaries because she was working late one evening on Even Stevens. That's interesting. They are very similar, I do have to say. Like, look-wise, they're almost identical. They could probably play sisters pretty easily. I didn't know that she had almost auditioned for that, but that is interesting. The world would have been a different place if Anne wasn't Mia. Wow. The Even Stevens writers, Christy talks about that in her podcast. I need to listen to her podcast, Jess. The Even Stevens writers increasingly leaned into Christy and Shia's tension and pushed Lewis versus Ren storylines to the max, making what was originally a series centered on Lewis into a series centered on sibling rivalry. I was actually supposed to be in the video. Yeah. A season 1 scene in which Ren gets pelted with tomatoes cemented Christy and Shia's animosity off screen. She said that Shia was throwing the tomatoes at her face, like really trying to hurt her, and she never forgave him for that, Rensler said. He was always giving her a hard time and complaining about her off camera, which she put up with because she felt like it made the on-camera rivalry even more realistic. It didn't help that playing the uptight foil to Shia's zaniness was essentially a thankless job. It's hard to be really good as a straight man. She had a really good funny bone, Warren said, but they were just so different. They didn't really have patience for each other or much affection for each other. I don't think Shia was threatened by her as much as she may have been by the attention that he was getting. Very interesting. While Shia would be literally bouncing off the walls and skateboarding down the halls of the soundstage, Christy would be diligently studying her lines, and Shia parlayed his Even Stevens role into the lead of Walt Disney Studios' theatrical adaptation of Louis Sachar's Holes, and he flexed his acting muscles in the soapy DCOM drama True Confessions. Christy got pigeonholed. It became clear that the network didn't really know what to do with her. Despite her Broadway pedigree and proven chops, she was too mature and poised to be relatable to the average girl. Disagree. They thought. I disagree with that. I was definitely that kid in high school, so I disagree. Her role in 2002 Private Benjamin, like DCOM Cadet Kelly, amounted to playing yet another high-strung party pooper, this time in the shadow of Hilary Duff's accessible charm. It might not have been Christy's most impactful role at the time, but in the years since, fans have noted the close talking chemistry between Christy and Hilary's Cadet Kelly characters contributed to their schmexmamol awakening and dubbed it the queer girls DCOM Disney never actually gave us. Interesting. I didn't know about that. I'll have to ask my girl on girlfriends. Then, in June 2002, Christy made her debut as the titular voice of the animated series Kim Possible. According to the creators, the original Kim Possible pilot featured the voices of Allison Hannigan as Kim and David Arquette as her sidekick Ron Stoppable, but the actor's delivery wasn't quite over the top enough for the Disney Channel animation. Gary Marshall suggested trying Christy as the voice of Kim and Will Friedle, who appeared on Boy Meets World in syndication on the channel, as Ron. Yeah, Kim was everything. Call me, beat me if you're gonna reach me, guys. Christy was the first breakthrough of like, wow, this brings the show to life. There was a genuine spark there. After Christy had been denied additional live action roles at the network, Kim Possible, who she voiced for 87 episodes and 2 DCOMs, was the perfect fit. When Even Stevens ended production, Rinsler and Warner also pitched to ABC the idea of having Kristen star in an Even Stevens spinoff, in which Ren would be a working intern on Capitol Hill, but ABC wasn't interested. Disney Channel didn't have a reputation as a star maker or a hit maker, and their ideas were deemed of little value to Disney TV's other divisions. Bummer. That could have been cool. We said, you have a talent here. She can dance, she can act, she can sing, she's likable, she has a built-in audience. Why don't you grow that audience with her? Warren said. And at the time, ABC didn't want to hear anything from Disney Channel. It was almost like, get away from us with this stuff. Thousands of miles from Christy's Connecticut upbringing, Shia LaBeouf grew up poor in the east side of Los Angeles with his hippie parents. His father, Jeff, was a brash former rodeo clown and Vietnam War veteran who battled an alcohol addiction and spent time in prison. For attempted grapes in 1980s. Oh my gosh. Yikes. His mother, Shana, was a soft-spoken former ballet dancer and visual artist who ran a head shop in New York City's East Village. Before Shia's parents divorced, they all dressed up as clowns and sold hot dogs from a push cart in Echo Park. Shia's path to Hollywood began when he coveted another kid's Fila sneakers at a 4th of July picnic in Malibu. The kid told Shia that he bought the shoes with money he earned from acting in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. That's amazing. By the way, phenomenal. Why not? I like it. That's a very offhanded comment. Oh, I got these shoes from acting in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. That's a fun fact you can take to the bank when you're like later on in life, like when you're in college and they're like, tell us a fun fact about you. That job meant he only had to do schoolwork for 3 hours a day. Shia was intrigued. It wasn't about acting. Shia told Vanity Fair in 2007, it was about the fact that I hated school and I wanted Filas. He procured the name of the sneaker kid's talent agent, Teresa Dahlquist, whom he then looked up in the Yellow Pages and cold called, pretending to be a European manager seeking an agent for a promising young actor named Shia LaBeouf. Dahlquist saw right through his act, but was charmed by the chutzpah and signed him anyway. Still, some say the story of Shia's upbringing should be taken with a spoonful of salt. Let me tell you about Shia, Dahlquist said in 2007. I absolutely adore him, but he never let the truth get in the way of a good story. On set, the Even Stevens cast and creatives felt certain that Shia would be the next Jim Carrey or Will Ferrell, a comedic genius with blockbuster office potential. It was as if the rest of us took music lessons and we'd all be really good and we knew our scales, but then Shia just walked in and flipped a guitar around and knew how to play like Hendrix, said Brandon Baker, who had a reoccurring role on the series as Lewis's rival Zach. You just couldn't help but be drawn to him. But it was also clear that Shia was struggling. During the week, he lived with Jeff in a motel not far from the Playa Vista set, a much closer commute than Shayna's home in the Valley. On weekends, Shia often stayed with his co-star AJ Troth at the family's apartment in Burbank, where they'd skateboard or hang out at the Universal City Walk. Other times, he'd go surfing at Donna Pesco's family home in Malibu or go snowboarding with Nick Spano at Mammoth Mountain. On Sunday nights, Shayna would collect Shia from wherever he'd been and then drive him to set on Monday morning, where Jeff would be waiting to take over the weekday guardianship and an on-set requirement for all child performers under the age of 16. It's so sad, but kids have to grow up with trauma, but kids who have grown up with trauma and have not had the most stable home life are the ones who can really dig deep. They can really act, said director Stacy Pianco. They have a range of emotions and they know what real sadness is. Casting directors in kids programming are often expected to act as welfare gatekeepers, doing check-ins with a potential hire's family to gauge whether or not it's a healthy dynamic and if the kid actually wants to do this for themselves. But if a kid's exceptionally talented, they might be willing to overlook red flags. When Shayna would visit the set, she was a quiet presence, frequently hugging and doting on other kid actors. But Jeff was domineering and chaotic, flirting with female extras and begging to be put on camera himself. The showrunners eventually did let him have a non-speaking cameo role in an episode. Quote, there were obviously things going on, Pesco said. I didn't know the extent of it and I didn't know the weight of it, but I knew that something was a little bit off. At times, Shia lacked the ability to focus long enough to carry out his scenes and memorize his lines, so the showrunners tried coming up with tactics to help. They chopped up his dialogue so that Shia never had large chunks to recite at once, or they'd instruct him to cross his arms and tuck his hands under his armpits while filming, a trick to center him on the task at hand. Still, on some days, it seemed like he didn't want to be there at all. I was looking to make money, Shia told The Hollywood Reporter in 2019. In a very simple way, to me, having money meant having a family. Interesting. The Even Stevens producers contacted a child psychologist to discuss how to help Shia, and on a conference call, the expert suggested that he needed an additional mentor on set. Using funds that were already in the budget for a dialogue coach, they hired a coach named Richard Lyons, who also functioned as a big brother figure, to keep an eye on Shia and provide him companionship and care. That move, Rinsler said, quote, changed everything for the show. Lyons encouraged Shia to make short films during his downtime, and the actor became more engaged in the creative process, sitting in on meetings in the writer's room and handing out self-written comedy scenes for the producers to perform for his camcorder. Suddenly, Shia became collaborative, and he was having a good time. Oh, hey, Kennedy, congrats on your 28 weeks. Tomorrow we will be 24, so I'm just a month behind you, Kennedy, just like almost exactly 1 month behind you. Whenever I see Richard Lyons, I say, this is the man who saved Even Stevens when we were floundering. Overall, most people who worked on Even Stevens described the show as a sanctuary from what they were facing in the real world. Congrats to you too. Quote, our set reality was such a solitude and a home for so many people, Stephen Anthony Lawrence, who played Beans, said during a COVID-era casting reunion. We all took great refuge in coming to work because it wasn't work, it was coming to see our family. As Shia's movie career skyrocketed over the years after Even Stevens, he faced, I'm just going to say allegations for schmishmiction, psychological issues, and PTSD. He drifted away from the Even Stevens cast as soon as the final episode wrapped in 2002, but part of his childhood therapy, Shia began journaling about his childhood and relationship with his father, Jeff. Those journal entries became the basis for the 2019 film Honey Boy, which told the fictionalized version of Shia's upbringing and time on kids' TV through a character named Otis and his recovering addict father, James. Shia wrote the screenplay and played James, and there are different references to Even Stevens' dialogue, storylines, and costumes throughout. Shia had previously sold a never-produced Disney series based on the time in his life called Rent-A-Dad, but Honey Boy took on a much darker tone. Quote, It looked so grim in the movie, Tom Virtue said, who played the Even Stevens patriarch. The way they portrayed the show, even the lighting in Honey Boy, ours was absolutely the opposite. It was bright. It was a lot of energy. It was a lot of laughs. In the movie, Shia portrayed his dad as physically, verbally, and emotionally shmushmusive. Director Alma Harrell said that it was difficult for Shia's mom to visit the Honey Boy set and watch things happen that she wasn't aware of. Everything in the film happened, Shia said at the time. There are things that happened that aren't in the film, but everything that wound up in the film is what was actually going on. Those who worked on Even Stevens were shocked by the painful revelation both in the films and interviews that Shia gave on the promotional tour. They'd known Jeff was offensive and unpleasant. More than one person described him as an a-hole, but they hadn't realized the level of alleged abuse that Shia had endured while they worked together. Pesco, in particular, was shaken by this. When she went to an award season screening of Honey Boy that Shia also attended, she cried throughout the movie. And when the end credits featured photos of a young Shia during the Even Stevens years, she said, "Well, that about killed me." As the lights came back on in the theater, she saw Shia standing behind her. "I just grabbed him and he grabbed me," she said, "and we stood there and we hugged for a long time. And I said to him, had I known what it was like at that point, I would have made you live with me." And he said, "Yeah, I know, but everything's okay. I was angry and sad and upset, but so proud of him." But then in 2022, Shia said he made up most of the narrative in Honey Boy because the reality didn't position me as the wounded, fractured child that you could root for. Okay, that is dirty. I didn't know that, but that's dirty. That's not okay. It's okay to make up a script about things that didn't happen, but it's not okay to say that they happened when they didn't happen and garner all that sympathy from people who lived their lives with you and make them feel like they didn't save you. Like this woman who was the director on the show is like, "I ruined this kid's life." She didn't. That's very unfair. I don't like that. Who knows, Jack? We don't know, but the back and forth is not helpful to anyone. "I wrote the narrative, which was just effing nonsense," he told John Bernthal on his Real Ones podcast. "My dad was so loving to me my whole life. Fractured, sure. Crooked, sure. Wonky, sure. But he was never not loving. I turned up the knob on certain shit that wasn't real. Ultimately, it's impossible for us to know the whole truth of what went on beyond closed doors during that time." Quote, "Shia was a great kid. He always knew what he was doing. He always knew how to push buttons and pull levers to his advantage," co-star Nick Spano said, "and I don't expect that that's ever going to change." During Even Stevens' original 3-season run, it was difficult for the creative team to test the show's success. There were no Even Stevens merchandise. Shia and Christy weren't making the covers of magazines or doing whirlwind press tours, and the network executives didn't share rating information with the producers. Quote, "We really didn't know how popular it was, other than that they renewed us," Warren said, "and when kids heard that I worked on the show, they'd get excited." We will literally never know. Yeah, we will never know, but the back and forth is not cute. Yeah. It was popular enough to merit a 2003 DCOM making it the second series to get such treatment after the famous Jet Jackson. The Even Stevens movie controversially cut out series creator Matt Dearborn, who said he had previously talked to Gary Marshall about making the feature. "I called Gary," he said, "and I said, 'Gary, what the F?'" Dearborn said. And he goes, "Yeah, I effed up. Listen, you can write any movie you want." And that's when I sold them the DCOM 2006 movie, Cowbells. Even Stevens, the movie, won a BAFTA in 2002, beating Lizzie McGuire, and received a repeat Daytime Emmy nomination for Pesco's work at the show. Oh, sorry, not the movie, the show as a whole. But it wasn't until their final season that they managed to secure the coveted Emmy win. On May 16, 2003, the cast and crew waited with bated breath inside Radio City Music Hall for presenter Kristen Storms to announce the winner of Outstanding Performer in a Children's Series category at the Daytime Emmys. Both Pesco and Shia were nominated, alongside Reading Rainbow's LeVar Burton and the puppeteers behind Sesame Street's Elmo and the bear from Disney's Bear in the Big Blue House. Storms sliced open the envelope and delivered a chipper, "Gotta love the Disney Channel, Shia LaBeouf," and she pronounced LaBeouf. It's LaBeouf, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, a seemingly shocked Shia shook his head and pulled his hair in disbelief as he made his way to the stage. "Oh my God, 16 and got an Emmy. What the hell? Wow, 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 wow." He sputtered into the mic, award in hand. "I don't know how to breathe. Oh my God, this is absolutely crazy." But despite the critical accolades, there was always the feeling that Even Stevens was in the shadow of Lizzie McGuire, Disney Channel's other single-camera comedy, which had premiered 7 months after them and had merchandise, a soundtrack, a theatrical film, and Hilary Duff's fledgling singing career to send attention its way. Still, Adam Bonnet called Even Stevens their Seinfeld, and producer Don Perkart has said it wasn't their biggest show or the most successful show, but I think they felt like it was the smartest show. Wow. Well, tomorrow we're going to read about Lizzie McGuire. I think that there needs to be more written about Hilary Duff, speaking of, because she is one of the only child stars who has maintained such clarity. She's so clean, right? She never fell into the same dips that Amanda Bynes, Britney, all of that. They started at the same age, but she's lived a very kind of calm and seemingly normal life. She even has gone on record and said if her children wanted to be child stars, she'd have a discussion with them, but as long as it was done the way that hers was done, she'd be okay with it, which is not something that most former child stars would ever say. So I think that's really interesting, and I wish that she would write, and maybe she has a memoir and I just don't know it. It's true, but she believes a lot of conspiracy. Oh, really? I didn't know that, Amanda. I think she consciously stepped away when she became an adult. Yeah, maybe. But it sounds like her parents may have handled it more. Oh, we're talking about Hilary Duff, Kari. They may have just handled it differently, and I'd be interested to hear her perspective on that and what they did differently than other people's parents in the situation. Just interested. I don't know. I believe both her parents, both her and her sister have books. Oh, really? Oh, well then maybe we need to read those at some point. I haven't, I'd be interested in that. Her sister actually did a Broadway show and I saw her in it. It was okay. She was okay. She was not great. She was in Hairspray, I think, if I remember correctly. And it was just mediocre, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I think they did, and I guess they're vastly different, but can't confirm. I just looked it up, and she wrote at least one book. Okay, well maybe we'll check that out after our next 2 books. We have 2 books planned back to back after this one, but maybe after that we'll read her memoir. Interesting. But anyway, tomorrow we're gonna learn about Lizzie McGuire. I do think this is all very, very interesting. The only thing I've seen with her sister was Material Girls. They both did that. I did not see that. Well, anyway, I have a lot of counting to do, guys. We have restock tomorrow. I will have videos today about that, of course. I may or may not be on live later today. I do have an appointment this afternoon, a baby-related appointment. So depending on how much I get done, I may be able to go live before that, but I'm not sure. And the appointment's at 6 o'clock, so I have to do a lot of work leading up to that. We will see. I will let you all know and get your ingredients. Hey Nicole, how are you? We are good, thank you. Yes, it's our first doula appointment, so it should be totally fine. It's just information and stuff. But either way, get your ingredients for Saturday's class. It's going to be a great class. Even if you can't come to class, get your ingredients so you can make it afterwards with the video. We have Roll for Slime on Thursday. I'll be putting signups up for that today. And we did, Amanda. We did. Yeah, Secret Husband was very in that camp. Thank you, Kari. I appreciate it. Sending the same right back. Yeah. Yes, I will. And tomorrow we have restock for the public. Sounds fun. No excuses anymore since I'm so close to all the art stores. It's true. But also all the ingredients you need, you could get at Target or like whatever, right? You go to Michael's or Target and get everything you need for an avalanche. Avalanches don't require any weird special ingredients. It's all normal stuff. All right. Mwah. I'm gonna go eat breakfast and get to work. I will see you all later.